5, 6, 7.
Let's go.
My name is Patrick Cruz. The dance community knows me as Pat Cruz. I don't know how that happened, but that's just kind of how it is now. I am currently 26 years old, from San Francisco, but residing in LA, Silver Lake to be exact, representing the company Movement Lifestyle and Westlake School for the Performing Arts, the studio where I grew up in. I started dancing when I was 6 years old. Before I get to myself though, my mom was a professional for Ballet Philippines. When she moved to the US, she started with a desk job and then found her way back into dancing, teaching at a studio called Schumacher's. She was there and it wasn't that she was happy, but she wanted to do something that was her own. Started her studio called Westlake School for the Performing Arts, and when it started, I was 6 years old and I was just kind of like put into dance. Like at that age, I didn't know what I wanted to do, obviously, being 6 years old. It was more that she was like, well, here's the list of classes you're gonna take for a year, and that's what you're gonna do. And I did that for, I don't know, about when I was like in 8th grade, maybe like my freshman year, and not till then was I like, wait a minute, like none of the other kids are doing this, and like I can't make it to like the weekend events that like my friends are hanging out at, or I can't make it to like my games sometimes, or just hang out like normally, because I would have a full schedule of dancing and rehearsals and everything like that. From 6 to, I want to say about like 14, 15, I was doing everything from like tap to jazz to ballet, modern. I tried musical theater for a little bit, but the downfall was it was just always that I was told to do something. So even if like I would show potential or excel in certain areas, I wasn't serious about it all, and I didn't take it seriously. Little history on the company. At my mom's dance school, there's different levels. You have a junior level, apprentice level, and kind of sub-levels in between them, and then the company level. And that's what our performance program was categorized as. And so the highest level at the school is the company level. And so we were considered the highest level of dancers at the school. And we didn't want to come up with a name. And like at that time, like Groove Junkies and like Explicit, like the names were so like, I don't know, like cool, you know what I mean? And we were trying to come up with a name, and Sean was like, man, like, I don't want to be concerned with a name. And I was like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And he's like, let's just call it what it is. It's just the company. Like, it's the company, and we'll start there. Like, we weren't shooting for the stars immediately, you know what I mean? It was never like, okay, we want to be at Body Rock, or we want to win this or that, or we want people to know who we are. It was kind of like, let's get in, let's work hard, and let's train, and that's what we're about. Like, that'll be our main focus. And to this day, that still is the main focus. I believe just our recognition and everything just comes from the work that we put inside the studio, and the product is what has gotten us to where we are.
Throw the kicking, style flipping, slipping, know the difference. I've seen my whole life in the distance.
Around maybe 2006, 2007, I'm really bad with years. But somewhere around that time, I was offered the opportunity to go to Canada, to Winnipeg. Again, shout out to Wayne Santos. He brought us over there, and there's that video on YouTube of me, Mike, Amy, Sean, and George dancing over there. It was that event. That was my first taste of like international travel and teaching, even if it was just kind of up and towards Canada. And then I want to say maybe a year later, maybe a year and a half later, I was in Yeda with Dancescape. Shout out to Sandra and Chavi. They took me over there, and that was my first like really big international job. And it was my first and also the only job that I've been currently going to. I would just go back and forth to Spain every year and like do a couple jobs, teach locally at workshops and stuff like that within the community, or in the Bay Area community, or within LA, or whatever it was. Sometimes outside of state, but I never really took it seriously because I felt like, well, I don't know, like I didn't believe that what I was doing at the time was something great, or that I had anything to offer to people. I was just like, oh, people like my stuff, so I'm going to teach it, and that's just kind of what it is. And then life went on like that. Not that it wasn't important, but I will say that like it was just kind of the same thing over and over again for me. Focusing on the company, on the school, teaching really minorly here and there. And Sean hit me up and he was like, yo, I've been really sitting on this idea for a really long time,
and I'm starting to put it together. And he was talking about movement lifestyle and what he wanted to do with that. He was like, I want you to try to be a part of it. At the time that he was just brainstorming everything, we didn't know to what caliber it would be or like what people's interests would be within it. So we started with our home base, which was Subi, me, George, and Jekka, 4 dancers from the company that also choreographed. And movement lifestyle got me opportunities to teach abroad, like a lot more than I currently was. And the more I did it, the more I started to appreciate it, and the more I did it, the more I started to enjoy it. And I started to learn that I do personally feel like I have something to offer, whether it be like just my teaching skills or things I've experienced that I have to share with other people. And along with that, I think what really got me is that like I get to learn so much from all these people as well. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. I just stepped down as, I don't know what my position is. I know me and Sean have the company as our baby, and I know that's never gonna change. Currently, my presence is not there on an everyday basis, but I've been home for 2.5 weeks for Thanksgiving, and I've been to practice. I've been to every practice since I've gotten back, just helping out. But right now, Jason Relaire and Aggie are running the show over there. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. Don't break it down. Don't break it down. Don't break it down. Don't break it down. Just break it down. I didn't know there was a community. I went to Battle Fest. I saw dancing. I went to the San Francisco Hip Hop Dance Fest. I was actually at the first one, and I attended it up to like the 9th one or something like that. And we participated in a couple of them. And we were doing small shows like Gift to Gig from Greg Chapkis, a lot of Filipino events, a lot of cotillions, and I feel like that's what my community was up until I was exposed to the SoCal scene. So again, it's not so much that like there wasn't a community, I just didn't recognize it as a community. I knew our studio and I knew the garage where Gen 2 rehearsed, and that was my dance community. I went to the studio to practice, and I went to Gen 2's garage to practice some more. There was a time where Funk's classes, their Sunday classes, were being held at my mom's studio. I knew that as well, and just getting to learn from different choreographers from within the Bay Area, and also doing shows. I think Mission and Mix was another one that really stood out to me. SF State shows, like I said, like Filipino events. But I think the main thing we performed at was cotillions, to be honest with you. Also, with that said, there was a point in time where there weren't a lot of classes happening. Or we had rehearsal on Sundays and we couldn't make it to the funk stuff anymore because their rehearsals were on Sundays at around the same time. Their classes were on Sundays at the same time. And there just wasn't a lot for us around the area. Now, the community is the same, I want to say. I see it coming back though, with things like the Monday Night Workshop. I want to say San Jose has more dancers than like Daly City and San Francisco does currently. I might get in trouble for saying something like that, but it's just my personal opinion. But how I see it is, people who choose to dance are very involved in the Bay Area until life catches up to them. Like I said, they get old and maybe it's time to step away from dancing and focus on my career outside of dancing. For the people that do decide that dance is my career, there aren't enough opportunities for us here to be able to do what we want to do, so we have to leave. Now, with us leaving, it makes us less available to grow and nurture the community that is the Bay Area. You know what I mean? With that said, I feel like that's where we lack. Not that it's anyone's fault or a downfall or anything, I'm just saying like that's where we lack currently. Where there's more opportunities in Southern California, even San Diego's only a 2-hour drive away from where like the industry is. And so everything kind of flourishes more over there. And the people from the Bay Area end up going over there and it continues to grow and grow and grow. And that's just kind of where it is. And back here it's like Kyle Hanagami, Ellen Kim, Jekka, me, Sean, like we've all decided to do our thing over there, and it's hard for us to be back here all the time when we're focusing on ourselves. And I wouldn't even say that it's a selfish thing like focusing on ourselves, it's just that it's a career we've chosen and we need to do what we need to do in order to be successful at what we want to do. Yes, it wasn't a downfall, but I feel it and I see it starting to pick back up. Bigger. Here we go.
No match.
YouTube definitely played a big part. You hear like the good and the bad about it all the time. I'm just gonna go with what I see it as to be. And again, if I offend anyone, I'm sorry. Where I'm at is I feel like it's a great way to market ourselves, and it's also a great way to become inspired and see what other people are doing. It's everything for us. I'm not gonna say it's like the end all be all, but again, like I said, as far as promotion, social media networks are the best way for us to promote ourselves to other places. So in that sense, it's great. Where I see the downfall is when people only know of it. It's just YouTube. It's just the people that I know that are online, when there's so many other people who have so many other things to offer. It's just the movement, and like there's people who are choreographing and posting their stuff up online, and there's nothing wrong with that, because no one says you can't do that on YouTube, and it's freedom of expression and all that. I get it, but I think like the problem is when that's the goal first. It's not that like I'm gonna go take classes and I'm gonna go train and I'm gonna learn, and I'm just gonna learn basic grooves and how to use my body and learn my body, and then I'm gonna take the steps necessary to get to where I want to get to. I feel like now it's like, well, I'm gonna make something, put it online, and like try to take that route and get to where I want to get to right away. A lot of the questions I get are like, how do we get to do what you're doing? And it's like, well, it's like school, and Jillian Myers had said this to me, and I know Keone and Mari had touched upon it as well. And it's if you think about it, like you can't go through and be a professional at something unless you start from kindergarten and make your way through to get to where you need to get to. And I feel like dance, or they feel like, and I agree with them, that dance is the same in that sense. And I also believe that there's a lot of like know-it-alls. I'll say know-it-alls. Like there's a lot of know-it-alls because of YouTube. And that's just, I mean, it comes with the territory. I get it. But there's also like a lot of history in what we do, how we talked about community and everything like that. And learning and experiencing and growing from that, like this came from this, and this came from this, and this came from this. Maybe our roots are not as deeply rooted as hip-hop, but I know that when I see something, that it's an evolution of something that I've seen before. And there's a lot of just, well, this is like that, and this is like this, and comparisons and whatnot. I don't want to like get too deep into it, but a lot of people don't really understand the history of what things are or how things used to be. And I think that is because of YouTube, because now the gift is that like it makes the world smaller, but the curse is that like people aren't venturing into the smaller world to get to the bigger world, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And that's been around, like people have always wanted to try to be like the person they look up to. Like I wanted to try to be like Sean, you know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that, but I do feel like there's trends, and trends are in everything. Like that's how it is. Like, but it's kind of like, instead of creating their own, like trapping themselves into their room or learning from someone and developing from there, like I didn't come up with what I do necessarily. Like I learned my basis from Sean, and from there and experiencing other things through the journey, like I was able to put something together that I call myself. Whether it's a distinct style or a special style or my style, I don't know what to call that, but I know what I do, and that's what I do. But that's all a combination of everything I've learned through the process. But I feel like it's like people are looking at something and they're like, oh, that's so cool, so I'm gonna try to do that, instead of taking from that and learning it, but then making it your own in a sense, you know what I mean? And Love Drunk was my first video, and it like worked out for me, and I still get like people that are like, yo, can you teach Love Drunk? And I was like, honestly, I don't remember the choreography at all. Like, and I think I hate the song now. To me, good musicality is how you present your stuff. I feel like it's the presentation, like the setup to what it is that you want to show, and the right time to use what you want to use. You can be an amazing choreographer, but if you don't know how to teach, I feel like you shouldn't be teaching. Like I feel like there's a complete difference, like choreographer and teacher. And I don't believe you have to have amazing choreography to be a good teacher, but I do believe you need to be good at teaching to teach. You know what I mean? Just like on the flip side, you need to have good choreography to be a choreographer, but you don't have to be an amazing teacher to be a good choreographer. You know what I mean? Like to me, they're two separate things. So if you're gonna choose to create choreography, choose to create choreography. If you're gonna choose to teach, choose to teach. And what I mean by that is, when you go to teach, or the way I understand it to be is, if you're gonna take my class, that means you wanna come learn something. And it's my job, because you're paying for this and I'm being hired to do it, to teach you well and to make sure you leave learning something. And I always think it's great when I feel like I learned something more than just moves. I learned how to do the moves, or I learned a different perspective on thinking, or I learned how to use music in a different way, whatever it may be. I think that is the better feeling, and I feel like my job as a teacher is to give you those things. It's to not throw a bunch of moves at you and be like, well, it's sink or swim time, but to adjust my pace to the class, to make sure I explain myself so no one is lost. At times people are still lost, that's the reality of it. I get lost in classes all the time too, but it's like you feel like you're a part of it. It's both. It's like you're giving, they're receiving, they're giving, you're receiving, and I feel like being a good teacher is necessary if you're gonna call yourself a teacher. I firmly believe in that, yes. But like I said again, that doesn't mean that makes you a good choreographer and vice versa. So you could be an amazing choreographer and be like, well, I don't want to teach, I just want to be an amazing choreographer. And then like, that's that. I'm gonna say a spork. Only because I feel like I would love to be like versatile at everything and used for everything. And I feel like it's a fork and a spoon. How can you go wrong with that? And you can cut stuff with it, just tilt it on its side. But it would have to be like a metal spork, which is kind of tacky in general because you would never like present a metal spork, and it's kind of just like a KFC thing, like plastic. But I guess it'd be a spork, yeah. 2 cents. Dance-wise, I believe dance is fun, first and foremost. And so where we're at right now, myself included, it's really easy to get stuck on, well, I want to be a teacher and I want to be a good teacher. I want to choreograph and I want to be a better choreographer. I want to travel and teach. I want my team to be good. I want myself to be good. I feel like just a bit of advice is that if you go back to having fun with it, it'll always snowball a lot easier that way instead of stressing yourself out too much on reaching your goal instantly. So just have fun with it and it'll trickle from there. With that said, I said what I said about the Bay Area, but I do feel like there's a lot to offer here, and I feel like everyone should believe in it. But believe in it because you want to believe in it, and don't believe in it just to be a part of it. It'll flourish and it'll happen when people come together for the want to come together, not come together to be a part of something that's coming together. And chances are things will leave, a new batch of people will come, and that'll leave. But as long as there's still a want to do things, like we'll be able to continue to grow and do what we're supposed to be doing over here.